For this video, we're going to be interpreting some data, specifically with PFTs. My name is Elizabeth Locker, and stay tuned for the end for a respiratory joke. Okay, so to start off, let's review. So from the last video, we talked about FEC, FEV1, and FEV1%. So if FEC is greater than if our slow vital capacity is greater than our forced vital capacity, we want to suspect obstructive lung disease. A decreased FEV1 is a good indicator of an obstructive lung disease, and an FEV1% is the best indicator of an obstructive lung disease. So I thought a good way to learn about FEV1 and obstructive and restrictive lung diseases would be to provide an example. So for this example, we're going to say that we're the respiratory therapist. We're doing a spirometry test for Betsy. Spirometry reveals a pre-FEV1 of 64%, a post-FEV of 78%, which is an increase of 14% and 284 milliliters, and an RV/TLC ratio of 64%. Now, we're looking at this problem, we have to remember that a normal FEV1 is between 80 to 120%. Less than 80 would be mild, and then less than 70 would be moderate. So when we're comparing our pre and our post, we have to remember 12% and 200 milliliters, meaning an increase of 12% and 200 milliliters shows reversibility. Now, this is where it sometimes gets confusing. If the patient returns to a normal FEV1, then it is full reversibility. If they increase up to 12% and 200 milliliters, but they're still not at a normal FEV1, then it's only partial reversibility. So let's see. Okay, so how are we going to determine severity? Well, I hope you were paying attention on the last slide, because now we're going to classify our results. So the first option says moderate restrictive lung disease. Well, if we look at the options, we got a pre-FEV1 of 64% and a post-FEV1 of 78%. But we're not going to let them get one over on us. This is not a restrictive lung disease because we're looking at that FEV1, and our FEV1 is not normal. So we can cross that one out. The second one says severe obstructive lung disease with no reversibility. So maybe you're thinking, well, I thought this was severe. Well, if we go back, right, on the scale, we got an FEV1 that's normal, which is greater than 80. FEV1 that's less than 80 is mild, and then an FEV1 that's less than 70 is moderate. Well, our pre-FEV1 is 64%. And the key part to the second part of the answer choice is no reversibility. We know that 12% and 200 milliliters increase shows reversibility. And in this situation, we have an increase of 14% and 284 milliliters. So we definitely have reversibility. So that one is canceled out. Next, we've got a moderate. The next answer choice is a moderate obstructive lung disease with partial reversibility. Well, if we look at the pre-FEV1 of 64%, we do have a moderate score, right? According to the FEV1 scale. So we have a moderate. We know it's obstructive because it's a FEV1 that's below 80, right? And then we do have partial reversibility because it increases greater than 12% and 200 milliliters, but the increase does not go back to a normal amount because it's below. The post FEV1 is below 80%. So our answer is C, moderate obstructive lung disease with partial reversibility. Okay, so hopefully that last example made sense to you. If it didn't, that's okay. We're gonna go back over determining severity. So for FEV1, we want an FEV1 that's equal to 80% or greater than 80%, which is normal. Less than 70% would be moderate. Less than 60% would be moderate to severe. Less than 50% would be severe, and then less than 35% would be very severe. So if you always just focus on that FEV1, you will know the extent of the severity and you will know it is obstructive. And that, in a nutshell, kind of makes it pretty easy because usually that's what they're asking, right? They're asking for the severity and if it's obstructive or restrictive. Hopefully that made sense to you. Lastly, I'd like to leave you with a respiratory joke. The respiratory joke is, what did one lung say to another? We make a great pair.